Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you're here today. My name is Brita Wallace. I'm a family and paraeducator with Wallace Family Ministry, ministry that I founded to offer quality coaching and parent and family education to families and to teach families how to thrive. And one of the ways that Wallace Family Ministry likes to give back is by providing education online. So currently we are going through a Love Dare study. This is the Love Dare for marriages, and today we are on day 16, and day 16 is Love Intercedes. Okay, so we always start with a verse, and today's verse is 3 John 2. Beloved, I pray that in all respects you may prosper and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. All right, so number one, you cannot change your spouse. We cannot change our spouses. And as much as we want to, we cannot play God and reach into their hearts and mold them into what we want them to be. But that's what a lot of us spend a lot of time doing, if we're going to be honest, right? We want them to change. We want them to bend. We want them to be who we want them to be, right? And we want to change them. But the thing is that we can't. We can only change ourselves. So that's why practicing dares and practicing the dares and acting in love and choosing to do that and learning how to do that well and what that actually means is the best thing that we can do for our marriage and in our homes, because then we start to change. Maybe it will change our spouses. I believe that we'll see our spouses bloom. But you have to also realize that, especially if you're a Christian and you believe in heaven and God, then you have to believe in Satan and hell too, right? And all the stuff that goes along with that. And it's something that we don't always want to talk about, but when we're working on building something, when we're working on something good, Satan's always going to be trying to screw it up. And where does he try to attack us the most, right? It's through our families. It's through our relationships. He tries to divide us, okay? So we really have to talk about that. We really do have a real enemy, an invisible enemy, right? That really does come to kill, steal, and destroy. So we have to be diligent to pray over our marriages and our relationships. And especially as we are going through this dare, there are things that are going to come up for you. I am sure that you just feel like, oh man, there's no fruit in this, or this isn't working, or whatever. But I assure you to just give it a chance. If things seem to be going crazy, just, really pray about that. We have to be diligent to know that we do have an enemy that is out there to attack us, and we want to make sure that we're covering ourselves and our families in prayer and putting on that armor of God every single day and saying, not today, Satan, like, you're not going to have my family. And I will tell you that as I'm doing teaching for this study and for the parenting study, I have been really getting attacked in certain areas of my life. And it was hard for me this morning to get up and do my videos that I needed to do and that I plan to do every morning because of some things that are going on in my life personally. And I just was like, man, like, I don't feel like doing this right now. I love teaching, but I don't feel like teaching right now. Well, that's the enemy attacking me. That is him getting into my mind and saying, well, this happened, so you can't do this. You're not qualified to do this. But those are limiting beliefs. We go through them a little more. If you ever did coaching with me or group coaching, and how we can reframe those, and how we all have them, they all come into our minds. We all get in disagreements. There's things that happen in our lives and hardships that we have to go through, in different ways that we get attacked. But as long as we're not living there, as long as we're able to pull ourselves out of that, I just said this morning, like, nope, yes, I'm in this sort of mood, right? And I'm still going to teach anyway. I'm going to get up, and I'm not going to quit, and I'm not going to give up. and I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and I'm going to teach anyway because it's what makes me happy, it's what's fulfilling, and I know that I'm going to be attacked during this, and I have to remember more than anybody else and remind myself that I have to put on my armor and I have to pray through that and ask for God to protect me and my family and my home as I am teaching, because there is a lot of lives that I believe are going to be affected here in a good and positive way. And of course, why wouldn't Satan want to be attacking me and trying to get me to give up or tell me that I'm not good enough because, you know, my husband and I had a disagreement or, you know, whatever. So we have to rise above. We have to rise above, and we have to get out of those places of shame and defeat. We have to say, nope, that's not happening. You're not going to win. You know, my God is bigger than you, and he shows up. His strength shows up in my weaknesses, right? So love intercedes, okay? So we can only change ourselves, right? So one of the things that is super duper important to recognize is the very first point that I have on the board here today, and that is insanity is often described as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We are all guilty of this in some area of our lives, whether it's in our marriage, whether it's in, you know, we keep doing the same thing in parenting, thinking, oh, this is eventually going to change, which I say that very carefully, and this is why. As soon as I said it, I started to bite my tongue a little, because, you know, especially in the earlier years, if you have young kids, I don't want you to think that consistency doesn't pay off, because it does. We have to be consistent with them, and that's how their brains function developmentally. I have to constantly tell my 2-year-old, you know, keep your plate on the table. Our silverware belongs on the table. Our food belongs in our mouth. You know, no spitting. You know, you have to constantly be saying things over and over and over and over and over again. And that's how they learn, is by being consistent. If you're saying one thing one day and another thing the next day, they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, because they literally are just confused. Or if there's people in their lives where one person's saying one thing and somebody else is saying another, then that's very confusing as well. So I really don't want you to think that, you know, consistency doesn't pay off in some situations, like when we're parenting. But if there's something that's happening, especially with older kids, and you're just like, well, this isn't working, like if you just keep grounding your kid for a month for failed grades, okay, and that's it, that's all that's happening. Well, until you get your grades up, you're grounded, and that's all that's happening. I think in an instance like that, like, consistency doesn't work. Why don't we try as parents to figure out why they're failing in the first place? What's going on? Why don't we have a conversation and ask curiosity questions and get to the heart of the issue and see if maybe they need more support. Maybe there's something going on at school. Maybe there's something going on with one of their friends or internally or whatever, and maybe we need to ask those questions and not in a demeaning way. And this is not the parenting love dare challenge, but I just felt like it was important to say that, because as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I was like, man, like, I shouldn't have said that, because it can bring up so much controversy. When kids are small, we need to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. They need that consistency, okay? As they get older, we need to try different things. If we're trying something and our efforts are going just to the wind and they're not working, we need to reassess and say, you know, I need to help my child through this, or this is maybe a deeper issue than I anticipated. So back to the love dare for marriages is that, you know, that phrase insanity has been described as doing the same thing over and over but expecting different results. And if we're doing that in our marriages or our relationships, and we just keep making the same choices and we keep making the same decisions, and we're expecting that change is going to happen, that is just so frustrating, isn't it? So frustrating. So at some point, you know, we have to accept that it's not anything that we can do. But here's what we can do, okay? Stephen and Alex Kendrick tell us that we can become a wise farmer instead. So we cannot change our spouses no matter how much we try. We can only change ourselves, right? There's no guarantee, and they say there's no guarantee that this book will change your spouse, but this book is not about changing our spouses. That's not what this book is about. This book is daring to love, and if you take it seriously and you put in the work, you will most likely be changed from the inside out. You will be changed, they said. You, us, the people who are doing the dares will be changed. And the thing about it is that when we start to change our behavior starts to change around us. And I truly believe that to be true. There's even some research to back this up. When we become more positive with our children or in situations, it's contagious. Like, people thrive off of that. They respond to it. So I believe, even though Stephen and Alex Kendrick obviously cannot say, oh, this is not guaranteed to change your relationship, and I can't sit here and promise you that either. I can say that if you listen to what they said, and these are dares. If you take the dares, you take them seriously, you put in the work, that you're going to be changed, and you are going to see fruit. Whether it's right away or maybe it's not, and you take these concepts and you continue with them and you are changed and you love your spouse in this manner, you're going to see some fruit. I believe that. No, I can't guarantee it, but I believe that, okay? So a farmer cannot make a seed grow into a fruitful crop, right? It cannot argue, manipulate, or he cannot argue, manipulate, or demand it to bear fruit, but he can plant the seed into fertile soil. He can give it water and nutrients and protect it from weeds and then turn it over to God, right? Millions of farmers who've made a livelihood from this process over the centuries. They know that not every seed sprouts, but most will grow when planted in proper soil and given what they need, right? So so if you do the dares like they're saying, and you put in the work, your spouse will likely be affected in a positive way, and your marriage will hopefully begin to bloom in front of your eyes, okay? So, and they say it may take weeks, it may take years, but regardless of the soil you're working with, you are to plan for success. So expect to see fruit. You're supposed to get the weeds out of your marriage. This is part of the point of the book. You're to nurture the soil of your mate's heart and then depend on God to show up and do the rest, to do the work. And you won't be able to do this alone. You will need something more powerful, which is effective prayer, okay? So prayer really does work. It's a spiritual phenomenon created by an unlimited, powerful God. It yields amazing results. So, do you ever feel like giving up on your marriage? Jesus says to pray instead of quitting. Luke 18:1. Are you stressed out and worried? Prayer can bring peace to your storms. Philippians 4:6-7. Do you need a major breakthrough? Well, prayer can make the difference, and that's Acts 12:1-17. God is sovereign. He does things his way. So he's not a genie in a lamp that submits to our every wish, but he does love you and desires an intimate relationship with you. And a thriving walk with him doesn't happen apart from prayer, okay? So there are some key elements that must be in place for prayer to be effective, okay? So prayer works best when coming from a humble heart that is in a right relationship with God and others. The Bible says, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another. The effective prayer of a righteous man can accomplish much. James 5:16. So have you ever wondered why God gives you an overwhelming insight into your spouse's hidden faults? Do you really think that it's for endless nagging? No, it's for effective kneeling. No one knows how to better pray for our spouses than we do, okay? So Has your scolding or nagging been working? Does that nag or does that work even with our kids? No, it doesn't. It doesn't work with anybody, because that's not how we're designed as humans. We're not designed to respond to that well. I will respond to it. We won't respond to it well. Okay? So the answer is no, right? Because that's not what changes a heart, and we're all about heart change at Wallace Family Ministry, and that's why I love these books so much, is because it actually helps you practice love in action. It helps teach you how to love, and we go through really hard, deep concepts of generational things in families in Wallace Family Ministry, and really getting to a thriving place and weeding out bad fruit and replacing it with good fruit, taking the fruit of our legacies and bringing that into our homes, and making sure that we're not bringing the bad seeds and planting them in our children and in our families. And if we have done that already, that we're breaking those chains of years and years of bad fruit and bad seeds, and we're only bringing in the good stuff. So we work on heart change, and I just really wanted to start with softening our hearts and learning what love truly means unconditionally and in action. And these dudes, let me tell you, every book I've read 4 or 5 of their books, amazing. They're amazing. They do some work with Priscilla Shire, some movies with her. They have another book, The Resolution for Women. I'm pretty sure they have one for men as well. I didn't read the one for men because I'm not a man, but I did read The Resolution for Women, and they work with Priscilla, and amazing. The effective prayer strategy, forgive me, I cannot remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head. Amazing, teaching us how to pray effectively and in what ways we're supposed to pray. And so if that's of interest to you, I would really look up Alex and Stephen Kendrick and see what they have to offer, because they are filled with God's Spirit and holiness, and they are amazing teachers. And I just want to help you learn some of what they have to teach through these books, because they are life-changing. These authors are life-changing. So a husband will find that God can fix his wife a lot better than he can, and a wife will accomplish more through strategic prayer than from all her persuasive efforts. It is also a much more pleasant way to live. So turn your complaints into prayers and watch the master work while you keep your hands clean. If your spouse doesn't have any type of relationship with God, then it's clear what you need to start praying for. Beyond this, begin to pray for exactly what your mate needs. Pray for his heart. Pray for her attitude. Pray for your spouse's responsibilities before God. Pray for truth to replace lies. Pray that forgiveness would replace bitterness. Pray for a genuine breakthrough in your marriage. And then pray for your heart's desires, for love and honor to become the norm. Pray for romance and intimacy to go to a deeper level. One of the most loving things you can ever do for your spouse is to pray for them. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. Matthew 7:7. Okay? So the rest of the key points are: plan for success, plant the seeds, and get the weeds out of our marriages, okay? So nurture the soil of your spouse's heart, and then depend on God to show up and do the rest. Pray, 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 pray. Pray instead of quitting. Pray peace gets brought to your storms. Prayer works. Do you need a breakthrough? Prayer can make a difference. Has your scolding and nagging ever made a difference? No, it has not. Why? Because that's not what changes hearts. That does not change hearts, right? So it's time to start talking and praying to God instead. Okay? So turn your complaints over to the master and watch him work. Okay? So today's dare is: begin praying today for your spouse's heart. Pray for 3 specific areas where you desire for God to work in your spouse's life and in your marriage. Okay? So I hope you take this prayer seriously, guys. Even if you don't have a strong faith, I mean, if you don't have faith at all and you're watching this and this is interesting to you, and you just feel a little bit of a conviction to say a prayer, you know what, and you just don't know how, I just talk to God sometimes. I mean, this morning, I I was in a mood. I did not want to be doing these videos today. We have vacation coming up and family coming into town because 4th of July is approaching. So I had to get as many videos in today as I could, hence why 3 days in a row you see me in the same shirt. I know people are going to comment about that, but I do the videos and I work it around my schedule, which is busy. I've got 2 little kids and I work full time and I'm starting a ministry, and we, just have a lot of responsibilities. So lots of things going on, right? And I didn't want to do it. And I sat here in this chair for a while this morning and I just vented and talked to God and was like, and apologized for some of the things that I was saying. I'm really sorry that I feel this way. I know I shouldn't be feeling this way. I know I need to say apologies to my spouse because it was about something in our marriage, that we're going through right now, and not acting appropriately the way that I should, no matter how he's acting, no matter how our spouses are acting, we choose our responses. So that's on me. That's my responsibility, is to choose to respond well, to choose to not say anything at all if I have nothing nice to say, right? And we're all human, and we all fall short, and we all need to ask for forgiveness and humble ourselves. And I had not humbled myself and asked my spouse for forgiveness, but I was, venting and grumbling to God. And that's the thing, is that sometimes I'm just like, I need to just be real with you right now, God. This is how I'm feeling, and I'm sorry, and help me through this. Help me figure out a better way to approach the situation. Help me figure out a better response. And there are other times where I'm just like elated and super excited, and I just talk to God like he's my best friend. I just talk to him like I'm having a conversation. It doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be this formal thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a personal relationship, and that's all it has to be, is where you're saying, hey, listen, these are things I'm struggling with, or these are things I'm grateful for. These are things, sometimes during the day something will happen and I just want to say, thank you, God, thank you. I just want to thank you right now, God. And then other times I'm like, this is making me so mad, God. I'm sorry. Please help change my heart here. Or help me figure out why this is making me so upset. Maybe there's some selfishness going on inside. Maybe there's some envy or bitterness, or deep roots, right? Hurt. That this is an area that is triggering me to feel this way, right? So help me heal here. Help me discover what it is so I can move forward. It's anything I want to say. And some things that were coming out of my mouth today, I was like, I'm so sorry. So sorry I'm acting this way. I know I can bring this to you though and lay this at your feet. And I know that you're not judging me. You're going to show me where in this conversation that I'm having right now I need to grow up and mature, and where I need to work. And I know that you're giving me grace and mercy, and I know that you love me regardless, and I thank you for that, and help me get through my teachings today. So I always want to just keep it real with you guys and let you know that, like, yeah, I'm a parent and family educator, but my family goes through hard times too, especially because I'm a family and parent educator, and because Satan's going to attack me, and I don't have all the answers. I might have a few degrees and a few certifications, but there's areas that I need to improve in. There are areas that I absolutely need work in as well. And that's why it's important that we do these things together, that we're doing these studies together, and we're not just saying like, this is what you need to do, and I'm this perfect person who has all of these things together and I do them so well, because that's not true. There are things that I'm like, I've worked so hard on that, I got that in the bag, or that's not even something I struggle with at all. And then there's things that I'm like, man, if I told you this was the worst thing for me to try to practice, because this is my greatest weakness. I'm sure you'd be a little surprised. But it's true. We all have areas of improvement. We all have ways in which we still need to mature and grow, and that's until the day we die. That's even if we live until we are 100. I'd like to think by then, if we live that long, we've had life pretty figured out by then, and we've learned a lot of lessons and gained a lot of wisdom. But I still think even at 100, we can still learn something. We can still grow in some way. So that is all for today. Make sure that you pray for your spouses. If not, just write down some things that you can, if that's really something where you're just like, I'm just not into that, I'm not into prayer, I'm not into doing that, how about instead you take those negative things that you would say to your spouse, or those negative feelings, or the problems that you have, things that you're upset about, and you write them down, and then you reframe them, okay? You look at them as a limiting belief, and you've reframed them into something positive. So it could be like, my spouse is a jerk, okay? So you can reframe that by saying, no, my spouse is not a jerk. My spouse may be struggling with something internally right now, and they are also a kind, compassionate, loving person, okay? And then we focus on those statements, all right? And we turn those negatives into a positive, because both things can be true. We don't want to focus on the negative though, right? We don't want to focus on our spouse being a jerk. We want to focus on if our spouses are acting like a jerk, most likely they are going through something internally. They're struggling in some way, and they're not jerks all the time. Otherwise, we probably would have never ended up marrying them in the first place, right? So they're going through something, and remember qualities about them. You don't have to make it up or lie, but remember qualities about them that are positive and that you love, right? The antidote for being a jerk. So I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to share some of my vulnerabilities with you. And if you stick with me, I will do that all the time. I will tell you where things are hard for me, and where they come natural or easy, or whatever it is, and where some of the areas of life that I struggle through. So I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and take care, and God bless, and make sure you subscribe and like my channel.